This morning. We're here for some critical talk today, some important talk, and I'm looking forward to the comments that come forward. So we're going to go on and get started. Our first item on the agenda is the Children's Levy, Services Levy, public hearing. And before we start with the public comments, let me make sure you can hear me. We're going to have interim Director, JFS Director John Nelson come forward with a little information for everyone. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of tee this off this morning before all the true voices that need to be heard this morning need to be heard in terms of the Children's Services Levy. But I think, as you mentioned, it's important to kind of understand the context where we're coming from on this levy. So I just want to go over a few slides. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. There's a lot of information, and the slides are available on the county website for people to review. So the levy was first approved in 1981, and the levy was approved by vote. This current levy was approved by voters in 2021 at a rate of 4.51 mils, which currently costs taxpayers $81 million per, or $81 per $100,000 home in value. And the increase was in 2018, and that was the last increase. And that increase happened after our increase in 1996. So this kind of illustrates that as a county, as a Job and Family Services, we're very, very careful when we come before our community for increases. And the levy during the lifetime of it, and in 2025 alone, has reached hundreds and thousands of kids. But in 2025 alone, if we look at the data, we served 13,000 children, over 6,000 families. And as of June of 2026, there were 2,263 children in JFS care. So a huge number there. Foster care and other placements are the largest mandated costs. We try to really focus on those mandated services and ensuring those mandated services are met. And that seems to be our focus. We have the 24/7 crisis response of the 241 kids, working with our law enforcement partners, with schools, with community partners. And our team is trauma informed, and we provide trauma informed mental health care and counseling, and that's part of the work that we do with the several partners in our community and outside of our community. So it's a great continuum of care that we provide to the kids in our care. The levy helps strengthen families, prevention and support. One of the areas that we also concentrate outside of the mandated services is prevention and support. Prevention to reduce the number of kids coming into care, and support to make sure that the kids and families, when they are reunified, are ready to move forward from their interaction with the agency. And this is an important stat. 9 in 10 kids exiting care achieve permanency through reunification. So this is a huge number. It defies odds in a lot of ways when you look at national statistics. So this is something that Hamilton County does really, really well. The levy provides prevention services work. This is, again, another important component of what we do with the levy. It's not about just taking kids into care, but ensuring that kids, when they come into care, are first of all, is to see if we can even avoid that. But if they do come into care, one of the tools that is available to us is kinship. Hamilton County is the leader for kinship care in Ohio, and we are ensuring that kids stay with their families, people that they know, aunties, uncles, grandmas, so that they stay with somebody who's familiar. Two other areas that we really stand out is the Kids in School Rule program, where our kids outperform kids in every single metric possible in terms of school, in how they perform in school. And then we also ensure that our kids that are aging out of the JFS care are provided with the services that they need. So if they're still in school, if they are still getting, if they need the additional services, we want to ensure that kids, when they exit JFS, are successful, whether it's having a high school degree, making sure that they don't end up homeless. So those are all important things for us. I won't go over too much of these stats, but these stats directly talk about some of those kids in school rule statistics. And so now let's talk about what this means, right? So we've seen a placement cost crisis, and this is not just a Hamilton County issue. This is a universal issue at the state level and at the federal level. There's a lot of conversations in these spaces around raising costs around the country. Children in care have increased 19% with the complexity of needs. So there's a lot of issues surrounding the kids coming into care, especially with mental health, behavioral health, and our community has come together around these children and made things that we are looking at, and I have another update, a financial update later on in the meeting, but I'll go over the details a little bit more. But as we were looking at our existing spending, which is the purple line against the levy spend, we noticed that we were headed towards a deficit in 2025. So we notified the TLRC, and the TLRC came and spoke to the board, and the board actually gave us direction to reduce $36 million in spending in February of 2026. As a result of that, we've been able to flatten that curve a little bit. So the purple curve that you're seeing is going to flatten a little bit, and we're in the process of flattening, and I'll give an update on that here later on in the meeting. But as a result, we've been able to achieve a cash balance that we'll be able to carry over into the following year to help us get through the expenses of the first quarter. But if you look at the levy expenditures here, plan versus actuals, you will see that especially in the year 2024 and 2025, we far exceeded the levy plan. And so that is all directly driven by cost of care. And this is just another graph that kind of lays out just what it means for the cost of care. And it also, if you notice that a lot of the administrative costs and the contract costs have relatively remained similar across the 5-year cycle, but you will see that the cost of care is that driving factor that has gone up year after year. With this current setup, we're looking at finishing out the year somewhere in the whereabouts of about $18 to $20 million. That's where we're looking at. So we started with $145 million balance. The levy plan was that we would end with a $24 million cash balance when we finish the cycle. We're going to finish about $18 million, which is not that far from where the levy plan was originally looking at, which was $24 million. So that's about a $6 million difference from where the levy plan and where we are at right now. So why are placements costs rising? There's several reasons actually. One is some federal changes that have occurred through the Family First Prevention Services Act and the specialized and congregate care that the children need. So if you notice that on this slide, it talks about the approximate cost for per child per year, and that can range anywhere between $7,000 a year for a child in a kinship home to up to $168,000 a year for a child in residential care. So the range is wide, and with higher acuity, the children tend to fall in the higher cost per care, annual costs per year. Keeping the levy balance, what's required. So I just talked about those charts. We saw the true increase in our cost of care in the year 2024. So as we noticed those increased costs of care in 2024, we came before the TLRC, and the TLRC came before this board and presented the fact that we need to reduce the discretionary prevention programs, and we immediately pumped the pedals on several of those programs. including looking at what those means and the outcomes of that. At the end of 2025, we needed a further reduction on some of those programs, which is when we presented the $36 million reduction recommendation to this commission. And after great deliberation and after many difficult decisions and conversations, we implemented the $36 million reductions. And this is just the slate of those 36 million reductions, which also included transferring almost $9 million worth of spending from the JFS levy to the general fund, and then transferring about 4 million or so over to other levies as well in order to get that reduction that we needed. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is just not a Hamilton County situation. This is a federal situation. The federal government is looking into it at a federal level. The state of Ohio is looking into it. So this is definitely happening at a larger level. And so on instruction from the board and with the help of the Tax Levy Review Committee, we completed 2 independent reviews. One was through the Public Consulting Group, which took a deep dive. It was a multi-month effort where we looked into everything from cost of care, and growing contracts and difference between our single source contracts versus our contracts that are bid out. And fundamentally, they came up with the finding that this is an issue, that the cost of care is rising, directly tied to the acuity of youth in placement, and then tied it to the limited ability for the county and JFS to control out-of-home placement costs. In addition to that, we also did a financial review with Clark Schaefer Hackett, who looked at all of the funds and looked at out-of-home placement costs, and they also concluded that out-of-home placement costs was the driver here, and that it was predominantly serving our youth and children, that our administrative costs and our other wraparound costs were relatively same across the 5-year cycle, and the cost of care was the one that was driving the information. As I said, it was a multi-month effort from the TLRC, and that report is available on the website as well for the individuals interested. The TLRC, the PCG report developed 3 scenarios where they looked at a $205 million levy, which would allow for us to re-add those $36 million in reductions back into the JFS spending model and make sure those prevention services that were available could continue forward. There was a $155 model, which involved some of those $36 million in reductions being added back, but not all of it. And then there was a floor level recommendation, which was $145 million, which included the funding the mandated programs and maybe having a very slight year-to-year ability to look at any additional funding that might be available from year to year for special projects and prevention services. And the TLRC took that $145 million, further leveled it down another $1 million, and presented a recommendation to this board for $144 million. So with the TLRC recommendation, if we're assuming that we're going to start the year 2027 with a $20 million cash balance, which we're on track for, as I shared, 18 million to 20 million. So with that kind of cash carryover at that $144 million, and with the assumption that we're going to be able to start putting a cap with a lot of the federal and state work that's happening around the cost of care, that we will finish out the 5-year cycle with a $47 million cash balance, which will allow us to do the first quarter of 2032 at that point of time. So that is some of the assumptions that are made as part of this recommendation going into the $144 million. And this will be a 5.57 mil levy and will cost the 100K home value $154. So I know that, and I'll spend a little bit more time on this slide because I think this is a conversation that's been had a lot in the community around what is JFS doing to stop the bleeding. This is all great, that we're doing all of this great work and there's these $36 million in reductions, but is this going to be an ongoing thing where JFS continues to see a cost of increase across multiple years? And would we be in a similar situation going forward? And of course, none of us have the ability to predict the future, but everything that is in our control and in our hands, JFS is doing, and county administration in partnership with county administration. And I'll talk about the items that we're working here. So let's first talk about intake model. We're really looking at our intake model and making sure that we are only bringing kids into care that absolutely need kids into care. And part of that kinship model, which kind of ties into both aspects, is if kids are, when they're coming into care, if there's a kin available, we're looking at placing kids with kin so as to reduce the cost of the placement cost, because we know for a fact from the chart that I shared before that kinship is the lowest available option for us in terms of placement costs. So really looking at our intake model and pushing and seeing if we can place kids in the kinship environment, if at all allowable, if it's safe for the kids and the family that is taking the child in, to ensure that the kinship model works better. We're looking at levels of care within the children already in care. We're making sure that they're sized appropriately. We have a team fully dedicated for this. They're constantly looking at the children, making sure that if they are in a higher care facility than they're meant to be, that we are downgrading that level of care. If there's one-on-ones or two-on-twos and they don't need those one-on-ones or two-on-twos because they've made significant improvements in their mental health, we're looking at carefully peeling those back. We're looking at non-mandated services, and that's part of that $36 million, but we're reevaluating everything. Every contract our team is looking at with a fine-tooth comb, ensuring that it's mandated, has direct ties to JFS outcomes. We're looking at Ohio Rise. This is a way for us to serve our multi-system youth. And so we're looking at bringing down federal dollars as much as we can from Ohio Rise, federal and state dollars. We're looking at maximizing reimbursements. So this is something that JFS has historically done, and we'll continue to do it, look at it more carefully, even more critically in terms of pulling down every single 4E eligible dollars. There's some strategies that are available to us that we're going to try to extend using technology to be able to do verification of income verification and things like that. So we're really extending our wings out on this area to ensure that we are drawing down every single dollar, every single cent that we can from the federal government as well. Another big partnership that we're looking to work with is with our partners at the Juvenile Court, when the Hillcrest campus, which the Hillcrest campus received a $2 million wellness grant award in 2026, and we're hoping for a launch in 2027 along with our partners in the House, Talbert House. And we're hopeful that that will give us the ability to do temporary placements when we're trying to find permanent placement. This will give JFS the ability to bargain better when we are placing kids in locations. So sometimes there's immense amount of pressures to find placement for our children when they're sleeping in the office buildings or for a couple, 2-3 nights, or even for a week sometimes. And so sometimes there's a tendency to go with whatever cost is available. But by having Hillcrest, we know that we can secure placement almost immediately for a child where we're looking for a placement facility for them that fits their size, that fits their need, that makes sure that they're taken care of well. State rate card, and again, this again goes back to that point where I was saying this is not a regional issue. This is a state issue. The entire state is reeling under the pressure of the cost of care. And so the state Department of Children and Youth have put together a special team in order to look at creating rate cards. And these rate cards are being created in conversation with a lot of the placement providers to ensure that the placement providers have the resources that they need to be able to take children, but most importantly, that agencies and boards and the citizens can expect and know that the cost of care is going to stay put or stay relatively similar to what they're approving on a ballot. And so the state rate cards are going to be a huge portion of that. And then on the federal advocacy perspective, there's a lot of conversations being had on the 4E reimbursement requirements, which still base a lot of its income requirements tied to 1996 federal laws, which are not in use for any of the other programs for income-driven programs. So there's a little conversation going on about that at the federal level about how we can move the ball on that as well. So this is a multi-pronged approach to really solving our local crisis here. But as I mentioned, this is a larger conversation, and there's several partners at the table, including the CCAO, and the PCSAO, which are state partners for the County Commissioners Association, as well as for public child enforcement agencies as well. So, Commissioners, with that, I'll conclude. So,
Thank you, John. Appreciate all the information. And if you didn't get it all, you can go on our website and see it again and digest it. I'm going to move straight into comments. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner.
Joseph Turner, you have, welcome. You have 2 minutes. And thank you all once again for coming.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Turner, and I'm an ILP case manager with Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. Every day we meet young people who are stepping out of adulthood carrying far more than a backpack. They're carrying the weight of trauma, instability, rejection, and the uncertainty about what tomorrow may bring. Many have never had someone continuously show up for them. I remember one young adult that I've worked with taking them to their very first apartment. As I handed them the keys, they quietly said, "This is the first place that has ever been mine." It wasn't just an apartment to them, it was safety, it was dignity, and it was hope. But that key alone does not create independence. Independence is teaching someone how to budget their first paycheck, go grocery shopping, make medical appointments, mental health appointments, all the things that we do every day without supports or guidance. Those are the moments that change lives, and I've had the privilege of witnessing them on a daily. I've also been there for the setbacks, the crises, the fear of losing housing, the moments when a young person is ready to give up. What makes the difference is not luck. It's having someone there that will not give up on them. That is what this Children's Services funding provides. It creates a stable housing, mental health support, life skills training, and trusted relationships with people that they know will show up. It changes their mindset from surviving to thriving. When we invest in these youth, we are not just investing in changing one life, we're strengthening our community. These youth are our future. They are our future employers, providers, neighbors, teachers, friends. Every young person deserves a place to stay, and they deserve the opportunity to build a secure future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Liz Igo. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Liz Igo, and I'm here on behalf of the Juvenile Court to express our strong support for putting the Children's Services Levy on the November ballot. The children that JFS serves are also our kids. It's the court that grants temporary custody to JFS when kids are determined to be abused or neglected. These are oftentimes very young children, but despite their age, they've experienced significant trauma, and they are struggling with the impacts from that. The interventions by JFS in the court, they're not optional. These are our statutory mandates, and we're responsible to protect these children. In order to do that, obviously we need funding. If the funding is not provided through the Children's Services Levy, these mandated services will have to be absorbed through the county through the general fund. Diverting general fund dollars to pay for mandated services will have a significant impact on the county's ability to provide essential services that are not statutorily mandated. I've been with the juvenile court for over 30 years, and the needs of neglected and dependent children has always been significant. But the need is increasing, and the cost for those services is skyrocketing. I'll share with you that in 2023, the court had 730 new dependency case filings. Now, you saw the numbers from Jobs and Family Services. These are family cases, not individual children. And in 2025, we're up to 1,177 cases. That's a 61% increase of cases coming into the court that Jobs and Family Services is responsible for managing. As we also know, in addition to the volume of cases, the need and care is increasing as well. If we as a community do not support these children now, we're only increasing the ultimate cost to the county and to the society to meet their needs at a later time. The cost of healthcare in Hamilton County and across the country has been steadily increasing. As you heard from JFS, a significant increase from 90% for placement costs, including foster care, group homes, residential treatment centers, and independent living since 2021. So in 5 years, we've experienced a 90% increase in those costs. We must, as a community, provide for our children to help them have an opportunity to heal, grow, receive education, and develop into productive, happy citizens. These children didn't enter the system through the fault of their own. If we don't help them now, it's not just their future that we're jeopardizing, it's all of us. I've seen it for 3 decades at the court. Kids who come to court as victims of abuse and neglect, returning to court with delinquency charges. Children model what they learn and respond to how they're treated. As a community, we have an obligation to wrap our arms around our most vulnerable children. By advocating for the increase for the levy, we're letting these kids know that they matter, that we all care, and that we're doing all we can to protect them and give them a bright future that they deserve. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Christine Ware. Christine Ware. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Christine Ware. I have been with JFS for 9 years. I have held positions from working our hotline at 241 to ongoing intake and with our independent living youth. So I've seen our youth come through our care from beginning to end. And I think all the work that we do is really important. And this levy is very, very important to us. I have a unique opportunity right now that my caseload is entirely independent living youth, ages 18 to 21. I have a young youth on my caseload now. I call her young. She's 19. By standards now, we would be looking to emancipate her because she is 19. She's been in our care on and off since she was 6 years old. Her mother has 2 other smaller children, younger children, that she just regained custody of, and they are no longer in our care. Whereas the youth that I have on my caseload is still in our independent living program. She has graduated high school. She has just completed her first year of college. She has just got her first job. She's been there for 3 months, so I'm assisting her with getting the funding for driving school, and we're working with her on budgeting. She has a small loan she needs to pay off. We're connecting her with resources in the community with Cincinnati Works and some other programs that we have available to help her. And without our care and without the things that we provide in the case management, she wouldn't have these opportunities or know about these different programs. And so I just think it's really important to know that we are serving youth all the way from infancy up into early adulthood. And I am just really pressing for this levy because it's so important, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And I know I've said it before, but I have an 18-year-old son, and I can't imagine sending him out into this world and telling him he has to get a job making $19 an hour working 40 hours a week, and be completely independent. And that's what we're asking of our youth that are in care that have experienced extreme abuse, neglect, and dependency. Thanks.
Thank you. Nicole Geyer Lindsay. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name's Nicole Geyer Lindsay. I'm a licensed independent social worker and a clinical director at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. For 30 years, I have had the privilege of assisting families during some of the most difficult times in their lives. I worked 11 years for Children's Services at Hamilton County, and I have been at Cincinnati Children's Hospital for 18 years. Today, I lead a team of approximately 100 behavioral health professionals who support youth with the most complex behavioral health needs, and they do this in the community. As someone who has worked on the front lines of children's services and now leads a large behavioral health program serving high-need youth, I can say with confidence that the need for these services is not decreasing. The demand continues to grow, and the county must have the right resources to respond. Many of the youth we serve in Hamilton County have experienced trauma, serious mental health challenges, abuse, neglect, family instability. Over the course of my career, I have never seen the behavioral health needs of children and families as great as it is today. Young people are presenting with higher acuity and even more complex needs. They need the intensive services, the crisis response, and the coordinated support from systems that are already stretched thin. More than 13,000 children and 6,000 families have received levy-funded prevention, protection, and support. These are not just numbers. They represent children who needed safety, caregivers who needed help, and families who needed a chance to stabilize before the crisis became irreversible. The county has made meaningful investments in prevention and family-based care. The levy supports that have stabilized families before the crisis has escalated. It also has provided critical support for kinship caregivers, as John mentioned, grandparents, relatives, and other trusted adults who step in when children need safety and continuity. Hamilton County Children's Services has also demonstrated responsible stewardship of levy dollars. Strong financial oversight and independent audits have confirmed this. At the same time, the rising placement costs, growing behavioral health needs, and increasing service demands continue to place pressure on the system. This levy is about maintaining the safety net that protects children, strengthens family, and provides hope during some of life's most challenging moments. It's about ensuring that when a child is unsafe, when a caregiver is overwhelmed, or when a family is in crisis, that Hamilton County can respond with urgency and with the right level of support. I respectfully urge Hamilton County Commissioners to place the Children's Service Levy on the ballot so that voters have the opportunity to continue investing in the health, safety, and well-being of Hamilton County's children. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Kennedy. If you can try to stay within the 2 minutes. I know it's a passionate issue, but we have lots and lots of speakers. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Kennedy. My husband and I have been foster parents through Beach Acres in Hamilton County for about 2 years now. As we consider this issue at hand to increase this levy, we wanted to share our experiences as foster parents. Our first placement was an 8-year-old boy. When he came to us, he was extremely behind in school. He could not read, he could not write his own name, he couldn't even sing the ABC song. He also had emotional and behavioral struggles due to the trauma that he had lived through. His full team involvement, his Hamilton County caseworker, his GAL, his CASA, his placement agency worker, were extremely crucial in getting him the supports that he needed. They worked together to establish therapy services, behavioral health services, as well as getting an IEP established for him in school. Our second placement was an infant with a teenage mother who had also been in foster care herself. The mother received numerous supports from the county, including housing support, help finding a job. Her county caseworker and the county caseworker for our placement, her daughter, worked very hard to make sure that she graduated high school, and we were able to attend that graduation with her daughter to celebrate that momentous occasion. They ensured that the mother received therapy supports, that she had a job post-graduation, and with all these services combined, I believe that reunification would not have been possible in this case if those had not occurred. Our current placement children were previously in kinship care on a safety plan. Their county worker was able to make an unannounced visit to their home and discovered that that safety plan had been violated. If she had not had that bandwidth to be able to make that unannounced visit, they could still be in an unsafe situation today. Foster care is about so much more than removing our children from unsafe situations. It's about helping the children heal. It's about giving them the services that they need to thrive and become successful adults. But it's also about helping the parents get the supports that they need to be the parents that they need to be for their own children. This levy increase is very much crucial for our Hamilton County families to thrive, and we hope that you agree with that. Thanks for your time.
And thank you so much. Let me make a comment. Of course, we want to stay within the 2 minutes, but at the end, if you have that passionate ending, because I couldn't even understand what you said at the end. So I don't want to pressure people because it's very important. I'm a social worker myself, so I've been in the field and I understand all that. And our board really can relate to everything that's being said. So, okay. But don't go over on purpose, okay? So, Holly Ward. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Holly Ward. I'm a shelter case manager at Lighthouse. I'm also their youth action board leader. My age range is about 16 and up. The age range I work with sits in a gap that a lot of systems were not built for. 16 and 17-year-olds are often the hardest youth to place in foster care, and most families looking to foster want younger children, so older teens get passed over again and again. Then at 18, the same young people become legal adults, and a lot of the assistance that was available to them simply stops, even though nothing about their situation actually changes overnight. They still need housing, they still need guidance, they still need someone in their corner. Programs like ours are often the only place built specifically to catch that gap. I understand the gap in a personal way. I came into this field with my own lived experiences of family disruption and abuse. And that experience is why part of what I do is so passionate. I share that because I'm not alone. A lot of the case managers in this field carry lived experiences that give them real intrinsic motivation to show up for these young people. But that motivation alone does not pay for a bed, a therapist, or life skills classes. When that intrinsic drive is matched with extrinsic resources, meaning actual funded programs, manageable caseloads, and stable housing dollars, that is when a case manager's care turns into a young person's real lasting stability. That is what the levy funds. It funds case managers who can carry caseloads that let them actually know their clients. It funds beds like the ones that Lighthouse provides in our shelters, our transitional housing programs, and our independent living program. It funds mental and behavioral health services like life skills, budgeting, and employment readiness, and the connections to health care and education. When young people in that 16 to 24 gap have safe housing and consistent support, they are more likely to finish school, find employment, and stay connected to their community. They become Hamilton County's future workforce, neighbors, and leaders. I encourage you to support the continued investment of children's services and programs like ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Cooney. Did I pronounce it? Thank you.
Rest of the
Welcome.
board. My name is Tom Cooney. I talk a little slower than the rest of you, so I'll try to keep my 2 minutes at that. For the last 13 years, I've represented children through the organization known as Pro Kids, and we advocate for the best interests of children in the abuse, neglect, and dependency docket. And although mine is a small sample, I've represented a little more than 360 children in that period of time. I want to tell the commission that particularly JFS, Lighthouse, and the other organizations which are part of the child care system have done a remarkable job in helping our children. They could do a much better job with the resources that are really necessary for this. I come from a small town in southern West Virginia, and I thought I knew poverty, and I've been humbled a little bit in my time here to see the advantages that I had that I didn't even realize until I saw the disadvantages that these children suffer under in Hamilton County. This is our community, these are our children, and I believe that we should take care of our children. Just as we would take care of our biological children, we should take care of all of our children in this community. The amount, I can't tell you. I think that's been fully explained. I will assure you that the funds which will be used properly. I have watched them in its application over these 13 years that I have done this. I've ruined my retirement doing this job, but felt compelled to do so because the need is so great in our community. I believe the top end, and if I make a mistake here, you'll have to forgive me, was $144 million for the levy. I would urge the commission to max it out, and let's do this and help our children to the maximum extent that we can. And I did it in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sarah Beal. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. I'm Dr. Sarah Beal, a social scientist at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, who for the last 12 years has dedicated my career to understanding how we address the health and social needs of children in foster care in our region in partnership with Hamilton County Job and Family Services. While you've heard from my Cincinnati Children's colleagues about the most extreme needs of children in HCJFS custody, I'd like to tell you about the assessment we've seen when looking at the full population of young people in foster care. Across all indicators we've examined, supporting the Hamilton County Children's Services levy by placing it on the November ballot is not only the right thing to do, it's a way to enhance the economic and social health of our community. Sufficient staffing and support for adolescent behavioral health needs, as one example, provides a foundation to ensuring that we were able to compete with Hamilton County Job and Family Services for funding from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration to implement substance use prevention programming specifically targeting youth 10 and older in foster care in our region. This represents approximately 1/4 of the kids in Hamilton County custody. Among those, nearly 50% of young people reported that they've used nicotine and tobacco products, alcohol, or cannabis over the last 12 months. And without access to intervention, they don't receive any services to stop that use until they get in trouble with school or with the legal system. Now we have interventionists supported by SAMHSA that deliver these services, providing support to 90% of our young people in our region, and resulting in a 30% decrease in young people who report any substance use, and a cut by nearly half in the amount of substance use being used for young people who continue to use. Adolescents will not continue to have these benefits, which we know are going to lead to better outcomes in school and work if they don't have access to these programs. We also were able to partner with Hamilton County Job and Family Services to draw down National Institutes of Health funding to increase caregiver capacity to manage challenging behaviors that are common for children in our region. These behaviors contribute to trouble in school and in community settings and lead to placement disruptions that drive the healthcare costs and the child welfare costs that we're trying to control with this levy. Because of those supports, we've been able to stabilize 1 in 5 placements, and we need the capacity to be expanded with the levy to maintain that support. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Dunham. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. My name is Denise Dunham, and I'm a foster parent, and I've been a foster parent with the Lighthouse since 1994. Foster care is very important. We need to continue keeping the kids safe in a safe environment and until returning to their parents. Foster parents, we offer stability for the kids. We help meet the children's physical, emotional, education, and medical needs. Some of the kids that come in my home never been to the doctor or even been to school. We give the parents time and resources to address issues so children can safely return home when possible. When unification isn't possible for foster care, foster care can help children find permanent homes through guardianship, kinship, or adoption. We not only foster the kids, we also keep in contact when possible when the kids return home or they age out. So with that being said, kids gain a support person for life. And that's it.
Thank you. Amber, and I think they did this on purpose. Malat? What's her last name?
Malat, yes.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Welcome, okay.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Amber Malat. I serve as the Vice President of Programming at Women Helping Women. For over 50 years, Women Helping Women has stood beside survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and dating violence. Every day, we see firsthand how violence affects not only adults, but also the children who witness it and live with it daily, and too often carry its effects into adulthood. This is why the Children's Services Levy is so important. Its impacts reach far beyond child protection. It helps create safer families and healthier futures through both prevention and intervention. This past academic year alone, our Prevent and Empower program delivered 30 evidence-based programs to 2,791 Hamilton County students, providing them with tools to build relationships grounded in respect rather than power and control. At the same time, our Domestic Violence Enhanced Response Team responds when families are facing immediate danger. Today, we're witnessing troubling increases in the severity of violence. More than 55% of our domestic violence calls our divert advocates respond to involve strangulation, one of the strongest predictors of future homicide. 37% of divert runs involve threat of homicide and/or suicide. 24% involve threats with firearms. These are not isolated incidents. They are moments of extreme danger for survivors and the children living in these homes. To date, since launching Divert in 2018, we have had 0 homicides, proving that this model saves lives. The Children's Services Levy strengthens the network of organizations that work together to keep children safe, support families in crisis, and interrupt cycles of violence before they continue into the next generation. Saving lives takes sustained investment, and it takes shared commitment to ensuring that every child, regardless of their neighborhood or circumstance, has the ability to grow up in a safe and a home that's free from violence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Okay, Victoria, come on up. You can tell me how to pronounce your last name. Blecko. Okay. Welcome.
Right. Hello, and my name is Victoria Bleckel. I'm one of the Family Empowerment Managers at Beach Acres Parenting Center, a nonprofit organization which provides many of the essential services helping to keep children in their homes or work to return children to their homes. These services are widespread and include foster care, behavioral health services, social emotional learning services, and parent empowerment services, which is the umbrella under which I operate. In empowerment services, I have been able to witness firsthand the monumental impact of programs funded by the Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services Children's Services Division. These include visitation and our parent education program. During visitation services, parents spend time with children that have been removed from their homes in order to have bonding time, but also to practice the skills they will need in order to ensure successful reunification. These skills include ways to engage with your child, how to respond to behavioral problems, and how to ensure safe sleep, among others. Parent education at Beach Acres Parenting Center consists of 2 components, an 8-week in-person class and one-on-one coaching. Using the research-backed positive parenting program or PPP curriculum, our staff help caregivers reach their full potential on their journey to stabilization or reunification. In participant surveys, parents consistently give positive feedback, stating that the parent education program is very informative and has helped them grow tremendously as a parent. To give a snapshot into the number of children and families impacted by this work, we at this moment have 5 classes running with a total of 30 participants. That is 30 caregivers that will emerge from this program more able to provide the children of Hamilton County with safe, high-quality care. Further consider that this is only a fraction of the classes offered throughout the year, and that Beach Acres is only one of the many entities performing these services, and you can imagine how transformative these services are. This work is essential to the success and well-being of Hamilton County's children and families. Continued funding through the tax levy is critical to ensuring that these services remain available and accessible to those who need them most. Thank you for your time and your consideration and for your ongoing commitment to the children and families of Hamilton County.
Thank you. Amber Weckford. Amber. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amber Weghorn, and I'm a licensed foster parent here in Hamilton County. My husband and I became foster parents because we believe every child deserves a safe place to live and adults who will show up for them especially during the most difficult moments of their life. We have welcomed children into our home during some of the most traumatic moments of their life. We have seen the trauma they carry, the uncertainty they face, and the long road that healing requires. Although we have been licensed for less than a year, it did not take long to understand the incredible responsibility our community places on children's services and how important it is that they have the resources to do that work well. As foster parents, we may provide a safe and loving home, but we are only one part of the team. Children who enter care often need far more than safety alone. They need trauma-informed mental health care, medical providers, caseworkers, GALs, crisis services, kinship caregivers, foster families, and many others working together to help them heal. The children that we've cared for have directly benefited from the services supported by the system, including mental health care and other specialized supports. To protect their privacy, I will not share the details of their experience, but I can say with certainty that having those services available when they needed them most made a meaningful difference for our family and the children entrusted in our care. Those supports exist because our community chooses to invest in them. That's what this levy represents. It's an investment in children who have already experienced more hardship than most of us can ever imagine. It's an investment in giving them the opportunity to not only be safe, but to heal, grow, and build a future. There will always be opportunities to strengthen how we serve children and families, and I hope that we continue to pursue new and better ways to do that. But we cannot build a stronger system without first ensuring it has a solid foundation. Fully funding this levy means giving Hamilton County the ability to meet the needs of children today while continuing to improve how we support them tomorrow. I respectfully ask that you place a levy on the November ballot that reflects the true needs of our community's most vulnerable children. These children have already faced enough obstacles. Funding should never become another one. Thank you for your time and your commitment to Hamilton County's children.
Thank you. Okay. Harbor, someone from Harbor is here? Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Katie Perry, and I am the Director of Vocational Services with Harbor. Harbor is actually received your youth employment grant this year, starting April 1st. And we've been providing that service for the past 4 years in Hamilton County. So we're here to let you know that we also would like to see the Children's Services Levy on the ballot because we did see some changes in the program this year that is going to impact the amount of youth that are going to be served throughout Hamilton County. We are an established program. We've been around for 113 years, focused on mental health and substance use disorder, but we also pride ourselves in vocational wraparound services. And we are providing services with state, federal, and county partnerships with Job and Family Services, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, and the Department of Labor. So we also would like to identify that we have received a lot of referrals for services. We help youth access employment, work readiness activities in Hamilton County, and we received, since April 1st, over 1,000 applications have come through for youth that are in need of those supports in order to access employment and understand all the things that are required. We provide the service to make sure that they have an employment specialist to keep track of the things that they're doing, and also job coaches that go out on sites to work with the employers. We have a significant amount of employers that we work with within the community. We have outlying communities within Hamilton County, and then also deep rooted inside the actual metropolitan city part. We also would like to say that we invest in our team. We like to make sure that our team, which costs money also, we make sure all of the team members are trained in empath training so they are able to guide conversations with the people that they're working with in order to identify their needs and what they have going on. I do have my team here with me. We are located in the St. Bernard area, so I have some management here, data coordinators to make sure that you get all the information that you need. We have an employment specialist here with us, so really, we're quite prideful of the program that we have here, and so we just look forward to your interest in additional funding for serving youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brent Billingsley. Welcome.
Well, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Man, it is good. It is good to see y'all beautiful face and y'all looking good and clean. Praise the living God. I'm Mr. B.
For you.
My baby, get up here, baby. I brought my baby with me. Okay, so let's get started. 11 months, no cancer. Let's go. Y'all. Man, I fought for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why. Because the purpose God has given me is to pour back into the greater Cincinnati region. And babies like this. Candace Dean, who is my college kid now, she's been with me for 4 years. She got a raise this year, praise the Lord. And man, this is what we do. People like Alicia Reese, who bless me all the time and allows me to go out in communities and pour into them therapeutically and artistically. And I tell baby, make sure they got cars. Get them all. Can we give y'all a car? Get them all a car. I challenge you to see what I do because I believe in the purpose God has for me. Right now we are in Witten Terrace and we are in Avondale. We are spilling paint with the kids in the community. Thanks to organizations like Harbor, Hello, who fund me. And I say this to Adam all the time. I can't do what I do without levy dollars. I can't go where I go without support from these communities and these organizations, especially for now. I was texting Adam once a week, dude, I just want something else because of you guys. Because they fund me, they fund my kids. My kids have CPR, first aid training. We create safe spaces in neighborhoods. Let me tell you something. We walk like we got somewhere to go. And we got somewhere to go. But I cannot do it without them. And I definitely cannot do what I do without you guys. So keep on showing us that love. Clock it, my time. Look. Let's go, babe.
And you have come a long way, that's for sure. Yeah. So. Okay, all right. Joseph Sinfro or Seinfro, I'm not sure. Okay, welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Joseph Sinifro, and my wife and I have been foster parents in Hamilton County for 6 years now. During that time, we welcomed 6 placements into our home, 2 of which have been adopted and are incredible children. And we provide respite care for other foster families that need a break and need a moment. And we maintain healthy relationship, thankfully, with our adopted children's biological father and sisters. None of that happened by accident. It really was every step of the journey. Through those past 6 years, we've received support from Hamilton County JFS, as well as our foster agency, NECO, and could not have done it without them, the dedicated caseworkers and other services we received. When challenges came, we weren't left face to face them alone. We had the team committed to helping the children and helping our families succeed. Because of that and the support that we received, our children didn't lose a relationship with their biological family that we adopted. Today, they know their father, they know their sisters, and those relationships remain an important part of their lives. That took time, coordination, and people who cared. Without JFS, I don't believe that would have been possible. We've also seen how important foster families are to have to be able to keep kids out of far more expensive institutions. And through respite care, we've been able to help foster parents continue saying yes. When they simply need a break, supporting foster families helps more children remain in loving homes. And so I believe this levy is an investment in the children, family, and the people who are willing to open their homes. And so our family has been forever changed, thankfully, with levy dollars because of Hamilton County investing in these services. So I urge you to support Hamilton County through the levy. Thank you.
Thank you. Alana Johnson. Alana Johnson. Hi. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Literally just lost my notes, but okay. My name is Alana Johnson. I'm actively a foster youth getting ready for emancipation. I'm gonna be quick. I got 2 minutes. Systems and programs like Youth Advisory Board have been tremendous for me. I'm coming from being a juvenile delinquent to a college student at University of Cincinnati Blue Ash. Thank you. Thank you. I'm studying to be a social worker. I've always wanted to be a social worker, even when I was in foster care. I saw it and I decided, you know what, that's gonna be me. Being that I have lived experiences, I feel like that would be a great opportunity for me to help youth. I actively work at a domestic violence shelter called YWCA. I partner with Women Helping Women. And I also work with Lighthouse. And without programs like Lighthouse and Youth Advisory Board and New Path, I wouldn't be able to help youth navigate those different programs because they're coming to me. Even though I am a foster youth, I'm helping other youth that might not be in foster care. But because we have programs like that, I can lead them to where they need to go. I just helped a youth get into her first apartment because of Lighthouse. And I was able to talk to a few people and find out of different organizations that are funded by the levy. So it's just like if we don't have the levy, we don't have these type of programs and things that we could use. I'm really pushing and hoping for the levy. Thank you to JFS and everybody, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today without them, without the program, without the levy. I'd probably be somewhere in jail. I just want to say thank you, and I'm really pushing for the levy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Very appreciative. Thank you.
You did great.
Thank you.
Okay, Eliza Elliott Newpath. Okay, welcome.
Hi. So Alana's one of my clients, and when I tell you she has come a long way, I'm so proud of her. I really am. I'm trying not to cry. But I'm a youth advocate that works at New Path with our independent living program, and that's what I do. I advocate for youth. And again, I wouldn't be able to do it without JFS and without this levy. When I tell you it's so important to me, it's not just my job, it's a passion of mine. And like everyone else is saying, we build safe spaces, but we also build community. And sometimes we're their family, sometimes we're their friends. I get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning like, Miss Yulisa, this happened, I need you right now. You know, so I am so appreciative to be in this position to help, you know, guide them to employment and to education. And sometimes we forget that, you know, they do have traumatic backgrounds, but they're also not children, they're young adults. But sometimes they're thinking from survival mode all the time, right? And so we're kind of that bridge to help them kind of get back down, you know, come back down to from that survival mode to, okay, let me think clearly and logically. And so I wouldn't be able to do what I do, you know, get them to intake for therapy, or, you know, drive them to a job interview, or help them with their bus pass for the month or something like that. And so they're adults, but they also need help too. They're here, but sometimes by thread, and we have to help them. And so, like I said, with Alana, I'm just so proud of her. I can't tell you how many times she's called me about something, and she's like, Miss Yulisa, how do I do this? Miss Yulisa, what do you do here? Can I help? Can I do this? Can I do that? And I'm like, calm down, you know. And so we kind of get that from a lot of our youth. We have youth that have graduated and have become foster parents themselves, or gone on to get their masters, or gotten married. So I just am all for the levy. So thank you for letting me speak, and I'm done.
Thank you. Carly Lagori. Okay. Welcome.
Oh, this podium feels like it's for tall people, and I'm not that. Hi, thank you guys so much for giving the community so much time to speak on this important matter. My name's Carly. My husband and I have been foster parents since 2018. In that time, we have fostered 16 children. across 3 different counties. We've reunified most. We've adopted 1. We're in the process of adopting a second. When we first became licensed foster parents, we were licensed with a nearby rural county. And after 5 years, so in 2023, we were at the end of our rope with foster care. We were quitting. And then in 2024, we decided to give foster care a second shot, and we moved our license. And then in 2025, we started meeting some cool kids from Hamilton County. You see, what had happened is with another nearby county, we had fostered a kindergartner who had explosive, violent meltdowns, which is not something that's uncommon to kids with trauma that we've seen a lot of, unfortunately. But this particular child, within 24 hours, I was calling and saying he needs mental health services. Something's going on and he needs help. And in that county, he waited for months on a wait list. Months later, having still not received any services, we ended up disrupting that placement and watching that boy move through at least 7 other foster homes in the next 2 years. And that broke us, it broke our hearts, and it killed our motivation to stay in foster care. I want to tell you that seeing Hamilton County's kids, it's like night or day, not saying that we shouldn't work towards continuous improvement and continue to do more and more effectively and efficiently serve our children. But we now see kids, when they come and I'm like, this child needs more help, they're in services within a week. It's night and day. So I came to you today with a cautionary tale, hearing about this levy and having just a little bit of worry, I'll say, that somebody might see that there's neighboring counties and we're doing more than them. So maybe we could afford to cut back, but we can't. We can't. We have to continue to support our children, or else we will pay exponentially more when we have to rehabilitate them as adults. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and our final speaker is Samashi Wakanda. I'm going to let her come on up. Yes.
Me and my handwriting.
Okay. And if you could pronounce it again, so pretty.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Santoshi.
Santoshi.
Mahendra. My last name's a little easier if
Okay.
I write clearly.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I have been emotional hearing everyone speak because so many of the stories connect to my own personal story. So I've spoken before, so if some of this seems familiar, I apologize. But I'm here for 2 reasons. I'm representing Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. I'm on their board of trustees. I'm also their governance chair. But I also have lived experience with Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. So it's very full circle. So I was placed in foster care in high school due to my parents having some emotional mental health conditions. And I received complete wraparound care from Lighthouse, whether it's school support, mental health services, social workers, child advocates, and so forth. Even things like life skills. Like, I still budget the same way, like what I learned in Lighthouse, and budgeting is very important right now. And I also had like active case managers through Lighthouse, and I will forever be grateful I was placed with Lighthouse with how engaged and involved they were. I actually learned through Lighthouse that I was technically considered homeless. I didn't even realize that until a year or 2 ago. But the way I was taken care of, I didn't realize that. So I'm here today to advocate for continued funding, continued support, because someone like me can grow up and come back and support organization professionally, can get my MBA, work at a Fortune 27 company here locally, be involved in the community. Because these life skills, these supports matter. As someone else said, when we support children when they're younger, after traumatic, hopefully preventative, obviously, then those adults can come up and then give back to the community and continue supporting. And Lighthouse is a shining example of that, as are these other agencies that have spoken. And these families and children need continued support. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to thank all of those, even if you haven't spoken, you're part of the solution, I should say. And so you relate some way or another, even if you didn't come up and speak. So I thank you for taking time to come out. We will have another public hearing on Thursday at 6 p.m. out at our Bond Hill facility, Central Campus on, I don't have the exact address, but you can look on our website. You want to say it? No. 1701 Patricia McCollum Way. Okay? So you're welcome to come, and if you want to say it again, you're welcome to do that. I'd like to open it up to my colleagues. Vice President Reese, if you had any comments you'd like to make.
Yeah, just want to thank everyone for coming out, and more importantly, not just coming out, but thank you for the work that you're doing and you have done every day for our children of Hamilton County. We've got some tough decisions to make, but I want to say we're looking at everything on the table to try to see how we can put these funds together, at the same time looking at trying to cut down on how it may affect someone who owns a home. There are other pots of money that we have, and I would just say that as I'm sitting here and I'm listening, first of all, I think we need to hear more of this, not just us, but the public. I'd like to have this kind of ongoing on a lot of the success stories, a lot of the work that you all are doing prior to even having the levy, but the work and the success stories are just, amazing, and how our county, people in our county are working to help our children. I don't think anyone here is against trying to help our children, because that's how we've been able to have some of the programs that we have now. I did ask Mr. Little, he did give us a memo on some different scenarios on the funding, because basically what it is now is how will we fund this? And for me, I was just sitting here and I said, wow, it's just disheartening that when it comes to the children, we've got to go to the ballot and the levy, and we've got to beg. But then when it comes to stadiums, they don't have to go to the ballot anymore. They went one time in 1999, they never have to go back. But then when we talk about funding our foster children, they got to go back every so many years. So I've asked, I really think we need to, in my opinion, flip the script. And I've asked Mr. Ludo, look into it. My colleagues will get it. But I would like to see, let's look at every possible way we could get this done on the table as we're looking to make a decision. One of the things I asked Mr. Ludo, I think he said the increase might be about 75%. And I said, well, how can we work that down? Let's look at everything. Can we flip it where the children don't have to keep going to the ballot all the time? And we flip it because we've got stadiums and get them to go to the ballot and we could possibly borrow against future earnings from the stadium. We flip it and put the borrow against the future earnings where we still could fund the children's levy and bring the cost down so the people can keep their home and support our children. Is there a scenario where we could go flat and take some other of our funds, 50% or more, if you will, and try to put those scenarios? So I think where we are is that we all support the children. It's just a matter of now, how do we fund it? And I just think it just sends a bad look, a bad message, that the children have to go to the ballot every few years, but the stadiums don't. And it just doesn't sit well with me. So I know that Mr. Ludo's running we're running a lot of scenarios. Might not be that, but I want to be able to say, we looked at every single creative way to be able to do it, and then here's all that's available. So I want to make sure that those who have been the allies, I got to thank the taxpayers of Hamilton County, because they have said yes in the past. And And that's why we've been able to do the things we've been able to do. I want to thank Director John, because I asked the question, we got to have the answer. How will we stop the bleed of costs continuously escalating? And I think that JFS has put together a pretty good packet and answered that question. So we're still working. We're still looking at scenarios so that we can have a win for our children. But it just, I don't know, it just seems odd when I said, hey, let's put the stadiums to go back to the ballot and let the taxpayers decide. And we didn't. We still can. But then we come, and every time you look up, the children got to come, and every couple years got to keep begging. That doesn't look good. And I think we all have to roll up the sleeves, not just the county commissioners, but this total community of Hamilton County. Business, community, private sector, everybody. When children are involved, we all need to roll our sleeves up and try to make it happen. So it just can't fall on the homeowners. It's got to go beyond that. So I've asked them to look at it. I want the prosecutors to look at it and tell us legally, can we do it? And then, of course, we have to make that decision. But it just doesn't look right to me. We'll have stuff on with Thursday, we'll be voting on some money. Stadiums, billionaires don't have to go back, only got to go one time to the taxpayers. Children, every couple years, got to go to the taxpayers. We got to switch that. We got to switch it. And we're in a time now where we can't do what we've been doing all the time. It's time to do something different and solidify the funding for our children. And that is what hopefully we can look at some things already, just asking questions. The administration has put some different scenarios, but I want to look at every single thing. But we as a community, as a county, should be standing up. Now, they'll say, oh, that's different money. You can use sales tax, which is, I'm talking about the stadium sales tax. That's a sales tax. And we could potentially borrow against future earnings to fund this today. Will we have to go to the ballot for the stadiums? Yes. But why not put that to the ballot versus putting the risk of the children to the ballot? So that's what I'm looking at. It is never been done, but we got to do some things that's never been done. So I've asked Jeff Aludo to at least look at it with real eyes, look at it with real creativity, and bring something back with just the facts, and then see if we're able to do it. But it just don't sit well with me. It just doesn't sit well. So I'm hoping that we're able to do it. But again, I want to thank all of you for the work that you do right now for our children. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Driehaus.
Thank you. I too want to thank everyone that came out, particularly the foster parents. It's really important that we hear from you because you are the ones providing those direct services on the ground, and the providers, particularly Lighthouse, that came out and talked about the emancipated youth and what the needs are for individuals, young people that really need those supports to be successful in the community. So we need to hear those stories. The community needs to understand the value of this levy, and you are the ones that have those stories. You are the ones that are living it. And so we are very, very grateful that you are taking your time to come in front of us to make sure we understand what you do and how the levy impacts what you do, and the need for continuation at a substantial amount for this levy to make sure that we continue this work in Hamilton County. So thank you for coming out. It's not always the most convenient part of the day, and it's not always easy to park. So we know that, and we're grateful. I must say, for me personally, I've been a commissioner for 9 years, and I feel like this is one of the most important decisions I will make as a county commissioner in my 9 years. It's emotional for all of us. We've been here before. We need to make sure this community understands the needs of kids in this community, because this community has been supportive in the past. The increase that's been recommended to us is substantial. And so that's why you hear some of the angst amongst those that we're talking to in the community saying, what can we do to try to reduce the amount that's been recommended? We're looking at that, trying to figure that out, while also balancing the needs of kids, because the needs of kids is my top priority. We do need to create the balance with taxpayers. They are the voters. They are the ones that will approve or not approve of this levy. And we can't put something on the ballot that we think will not be approved by the voters. That would be catastrophic and the worst decision ever. And so we have to look at all of these things and create the balance. But the primary concern is making sure that the kids in this community are safe and the voters have something that they can agree to on the ballot. So again, you are helping inform the decision. I can't tell you how much you inform the decision. So really grateful that you're here and looking forward to the next public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. We are on a short time frame. We have to let the auditor know what we agree on as a board to put on the ballot. We have to do it in early August to let the auditor know so we can have it on the ballot for November. So that's what we're working on now. There's no doubt for me that we need a levy. I haven't come to the conclusion of how much I would agree on, but I think John Nelson, interim director, said it very well as he did his summary. The number of children has increased. The provider services has increased. They're asking for more. And I also think, I don't think it was brought up, but the duplicity of services. One of the speakers talked about you may have a mental health issue, but you may also have a drug addiction problem. That wasn't so much years ago. Now we're seeing children have, as I said, a multiplicity of issues that we have to deal with, and they need a lot of different services. So it's a hard decision, as was said earlier, and I'm sure we will come to one. And maybe in 5 years from now, when the next levy comes up, I don't know, the board may decide in 2 years to do something different. But right now, we're on a short time frame, and we need to make a decision as it relates to this levy in November. So that's all I have. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. You can stay if you like. Hi.
Thank you.
How are you? I am doing good. Okay. Yeah, we have 3 other things. Okay, our next item on the agenda is a second quarter. Here, here, somebody go out with her so we can get started. Thank you. Second quarter budget projections presentation by John Brugan, Assistant County Administrator, and then John Nelson is also here.
I don't know why everybody left the room. Am I not as interesting as the previous topic? Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm happy to be here to tell you a little bit about second quarter projections on budget. Quinn, are you able to advance the slideshow? Okay, so there are very few slides. So we're going to break this down pretty simply. We're going to talk about revenues, going to talk about expenses, going to talk about fund reserves. So our first slide is revenues. the broad picture here, by the way, is marginally positive. And when a budget director says marginally positive, that's like really good news, right? On the revenue side, we're actually seeing an increase. As of Q2, we're up about $7.7 million from our original budget. Good news. And about $3.9 million from Q1, also good news there. The revenue story is pretty simple. We've tried to be cautious on our revenue estimates at the budget time, and we're seeing performance above that. In the second quarter, what we're seeing is up to 411 from 407. We're almost $1 million up on sales tax in Q2, which is positive. But our bigger numbers were about $2 million up on local government fund and about $2 million up on transfer taxes. Both of those, what we're seeing is in those first 6 months of the year, those two revenue sources have consistently performed better than what our budgeted figures were. And we're confident enough to cautiously project out into the next 6 months positive performance, continued positive performance in those two areas. So as a whole, about $4 million up on revenue from Q1. So short story, some marginally good news on the revenue side. Quinn, if we can go to the expense slide, you're on it. Okay.
This is good news as we talk about increasing revenue.
Absolutely. So then in the general fund, on the expense side, also marginally good news. We're down about $3.75 of $1 million from Q1 on expenses. We're sure we know the departments are trying to dig in and trying to control some expenses. I would say this is more of a marginal impact of that $3.75. Roughly $3 million of that is digging into some oddities that we've seen in the sheriff's office around some retirement payouts. This is just how these things are budgeted and how these numbers flow through. We've been able to do a technical adjustment in the sheriff's office that accounts for about $3 million of this. We've seen some vacancy numbers that have continued to look positive from Q1 to Q2. We're not seeing a lot of radical things here. We think that there's still, the departments are still working here, and we think we're still going to be able to hopefully pull back on expenses as the year goes forward. There's still a lot of work to do there. No big game changers we're seeing between Q1 and Q2, but we've seen some marginal improvement around the edges here. We also know that there are still plenty of positions posted. We could see some vacancy fall the opposite direction as departments continue to look to expand some programs that we're a little cautious about. But as a whole, expenses are down from Q1, and this is a positive result. When we look at reserve, those two pieces of those two elements combined are leading us to some pretty decent results. So we are now projecting at 14.9% reserve at the end of the year toward a 15% goal, which is a substantial increase from what we were seeing. You bump revenues up, you pull expenditures down a little bit, that helps reserve balance. And so that's what we're seeing here. I think the real caution here is, despite what, plenty of good news here, some caution. Even as we're looking at these numbers, keep in mind that $6.4 million of the expenses that we're projecting from reserves are ongoing expenses. We have, that chunk of children's services expenses that have moved into the general fund. We have absorbed them in 2026 from reserve on a planned basis, but we are not looking at those as an ongoing expense at the moment. So when we get into 2027, we are automatically looking at a higher level of expenses that we'll need to catch up with on revenue. So there's still a lot of pressures out there, marginally positive news for Q2, but still a lot of work to do. And I can take any questions, or John is going to jump in on Children's Services levy fund if you'd like to go there.
And JFS is part of that. What other expenses from reserve?
We typically we plan for capital expenses from reserve. So we plan for a chunk of capital that will come from reserve. So far this year, I think we've done $2 to $3 million worth of capital expenses out of reserve.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Thanks. Any other questions for John right now?
Yeah. So, John, we typically don't have you be positive at all about anything, so I'm grateful for the report. However, when I read this, correct me if I'm wrong, so the general fund revenue, I can see that from the budget projection to the Q2 projection, we're up about $7 million. That's good news. But I also see that the general fund expenses, the budget was 404 and we're up to 423. So for my math, that's about a $19 million increase from budget. So while it's a good trend from quarter to quarter, it does not look like a good trend from budget to reality. And so I just wanted to clarify that unless I'm not reading this correctly, revenues might be up 7 million, but expenses are up 19.
That's true. That's true. So the seven is we've got about $6 to $7 million worth of performance over budget right now, and that's real operational over budget expense. There's about $12 million worth of adjustments that we've done to the budget since the beginning of the year. Some of those are ongoing operational things. Some of that is the $6.4 million worth of JFS that we're absorbing. Some of that is capital. And I think that's the bulk of it. That some of that was economic development. Remember, we made that one-time adjustment at the beginning of the year for some economic development funding that we expect to come from interest earnings. So it's those elements. Most of which is non-recurring. 6.4 million of it, which is children's services related, is recurring. So.
Yeah, it might be helpful for us to have that broken down so
Absolutely.
we've got a better understanding of that. Also, I know this sounds picky, but when you think about either one, the increase in expense or the increase in revenue, it's married to the amount that we're either bringing in or spending. And so the amounts are, very high. And so the chart, I understand, is only kind of a portion of that, but it might be helpful to have a chart that starts at, like the chart starts at 380, right?
Uh-huh.
I understand why, because otherwise the bar graph's going to be high. But I would love to see that, because this revenue increase or the expense increase is relative to the budget. This only gives us a look at a fraction of the budget because you've bifurcated that, right? So in the future, could you, if my colleagues agree, start at zero so that we have the full breadth of the budget, and then when we look at the increase in revenue or the increased expense, we can put that in relative terms as opposed to what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I tried showing it at zero, and you see almost
like this?
you see almost nothing, right? Because
Well, that's my point.
That's-
I mean,
yeah,
this $7 million in revenue is great. Sounds like a lot until you compare it to the overall budget, which means it's really just a fraction
Absolutely.
of what we're spending. So that's my whole point. Is that I don't want to leave the wrong impression about either the expense side or the revenue side relative to the entire budget.
Sure.
So maybe both, or maybe my office just gets it, so I can see it, because this to me makes it feel much larger than it actually is.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no, I was going to say I agree with that. And also, as we're asking other departments and they're putting their budgets together and tightening their belts, like you said, we're looking at one quarter, and then when we tell them about tightening their belts, they say, well, you came back now and said you don't have X. So I do think the holistic approach, because if someone the reporters are gone, but if they would report this, oh, they're looking good, and then the next time, no, when we have that big, budget meeting, we call all the the initial one.
Sure.
Not the end one. But I think that would be kind of like looking at the thermometer. Here's what we have, and that would be a little bit better. I know you're looking at it, from that approach, but I do think the holistic helps a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's why I'm trying not to be too positive today, because a lot of these numbers can move quickly, and not especially on that expense side.
Yeah.
A few decisions at the departmental level and some of the larger departments, and these numbers can move pretty quickly. To your point, Commissioner Driehaus, I think that's why I was hesitant to show from the 0 point, because whereas relative to the entire budget, these are relatively small, but they can move quickly, and those small adjustments matter toward whether or not we're balanced at the end of the year. So.
And I think you were very positive with your language, because I wrote down, you said marginal impact, so you didn't want us to get too excited, so.
I don't want everybody to run out and spend like
Right.
like
Right,
crazy now. So
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have John is gonna come up and talk to us for a minute.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Similar sort of sentiment from JFS as well. We're definitely seeing some really positive elements. Again, when I say positive, it's based on the reductions that we had proposed in the beginning of the year, the $36 million reduction. So we're kind of starting to see some of those reductions to take hold, because we implemented those in February. When I came out and did those individual meetings with each office for the first quarter, there was not a lot of movement because the reductions were placed on the books in February. So when we saw January to March numbers, we didn't see a whole lot of movement. And I had mentioned at that point in time that in the second quarter, there's possibility for more movement, and we're finally seeing those numbers. So to kind of give you a big highlight of it, overall highlight, our budget is the light green numbers. With the reductions in place, we were aiming for $157 million, about $158 million to finish out the year. That would be our total budget for the year with the $36 million reductions in there. So with those reductions, we were tracking slightly above in the first quarter. And then we came to the second quarter and we are doing just a tad bit better. So we're about $85 million of spending at the end of second quarter, at the end of June. So if we kind of extrapolate just that, that's what I use as my purple bar graph there, which is the static projection. So if I just extrapolate that 85.7 million, then we finish out the year at about 156 million, which is about almost $1 million less than our budget, which is a good direction to be going towards. But then I also have my dynamic projections, which is basically our spending based on what we've spent in those line items last year. And if we look at that, it's a little bit more than that. So it's about 176 million at that point in time. So with the dynamic projections, if we were to look at our how we would finish out the year, with the dynamic projections, we'd finish with a cash balance of about $4.5 million. With the static projections, we'd finish somewhere in the whereabouts of 24.5 million, which, to kind of put that into perspective, that was the original levy plan. The $24 million was the original levy plan. So we were expecting to finish around 24 million. So with these, in the best case scenario here, we could be rejoining the levy plan very quickly, or at best, in the worst case situation, we'll be still finishing in the positive 4.5 million, which is the first time I'm reporting positive numbers, because in every situation that I presented starting middle of 2025, there was a scenario where we would finish in the negative. And this is the first time in 1.5 years that I can come before this commission and say, looks like we're going to finish positive. And as mentioned earlier, numbers can change very quickly, and so it's not a permission for us to reverse course or do something different, but to stay the course and see how we can get as close as possible to that original levy spending. So just to kind of give you an idea, so this was where we had projected in 2025. We were at a $60 million deficit at the end of 2026. And with us flattening the curve, depending on where we fall between that 5 million and that 4.5 million and the 24.5 million, we'd be very close to correcting our course of that purple line and finishing the year out in a good space. Not that it's going to give us any excess dollars, but it will allow for us to have a stable first quarter as the potential new levy generates revenues for quarters 2, 3, and 4 of the following year. But Commissioner, that's the update where we stand right now. So again, cautiously optimistic news here, but still a lot of work to be done. I will let you know that most of the cost of care is still coming in over budget, almost by $21 million. And so that's something that we're working on. Most of the reductions you're seeing are directly related with administrative costs, with those hiring slowdowns that we implemented pretty early on in the year, and also reducing significant amounts of our contracts. But the area that we are still seeing where the prices are skyrocketing is the cost of care. The expenses are skyrocketing there. So we have some tools in our tool belt we'll be deploying as part of it as well. The part of the slate of reductions was $8 million in reductions in the placement of kids, the independent living contracts for kids 18 to 21. So we want to make sure that we're doing that carefully because we do not want to leave any children in a position where they don't have the resources. So we're taking our time to ensure that they've got the resources that they need to be able to emancipate safely and with the resources that they need to be successful. But we are still working on that, and I'm hopeful those will start taking hold in Q3 and Q4. So we'll start realizing those reductions as well as we move forward. So,
Thank you so much. Commissioner Driehaus.
John, thank you for this information. I just have to ask the most obvious question, because the TLRC did not have these projections in front of them when they made their decision about the recommendation for the increase to the levy. Does this change any of the thinking amongst those of you that look at these numbers every day related to that recommendation, or are we in the same place that we were before we had this in front of us?
No, Commissioner, 100%. That recommendation was very much sized on these reductions. So, the assumption when the TLRC came before this board was that JFS would be able to deliver on those $36 million in reductions. So we really appreciate the faith that the TLRC had in us in being so confident that we can deliver on those reductions. And those reductions are very much a part of that $144 million recommendation to the board.
Okay, so that was taken into account. That's very helpful to have, because here we are with, a revenue projections that's a little bit better than one might expect, but it's because of the actions that have been taken in the past that it is a little bit better, and that was taken into account. So that's very helpful to have. Thank you, John.
Yeah, that is great to hear that we don't have to go back and recalculate or anything. So that's excellent. You said you're reducing some contracts. What percentage of contracts would you say you've reduced?
Yeah, Commissioner, anything that is we listed in that $36 million reduction, we've already made those reductions. Some of them are some of the partners that were here today, like Women Helping Women was one of those reductions.
So I know about those.
Yes.
I thought you were reducing additional contracts.
Yeah, there were a few other smaller wraparound contracts, Commissioner, that we kind of reduced. Margie's here. Margie, do you want to come talk about that a little bit?
Hi. Hello.
We really looked at what was mandated and what was not mandated, and obviously focused on services that were nice to have and certainly were effective and if it benefited families. But we had put out a bid for prevention services, for an array of upfront prevention services, which really is not our mandated work. And we invested in programs that were out in the community that had high-risk populations and organizations that were already established and had other funding mechanisms. So those were primarily what we reduced.
Okay.
It was just an array of, again, prevention services.
Okay.
That were nice to have but not mandated.
Thank you. Are we also reaching out to new providers? Because the previous providers, they are already up there on the list for salary, and so.
Yeah, Commissioner, absolutely. And one thing that I'll add to what Margie said about those additional reductions, and those reductions are there, but those are not high value numbers, right? They're like 200,000 and 300,000, which is big numbers, but still on the large scheme of where we are trying to move the needle. they're not that big. So I don't want the public to think, oh, there's still so much more that JFS can do. We're basically running on bare bones right now, and so we're looking at every penny. So when we're looking at those contracts, they're like 100,000, less than 100,000, but we're just looking at everything. We're making sure that we're tightening our belt to the absolute max here. But with regards to your question about new providers, we're constantly looking for them, and in fact, we've had several of them reach out directly to Margie and I here in the last few months, saying, I think they're watching these meetings and they're wanting to help out as well. So we've had several reach out. So our team is processing them and vetting them through the process. And so I'm hopeful that the next time the RFP goes out, that they'll be able to bid on it and be able to get the join our network as well. So.
Okay, thank you both. I appreciate it. All right, thanks. We can go on to our next item on the agenda, which is we have an executive session pursuant to ORC section 121.22G3 to conduct a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning the subject of pending litigation. I make a motion to go in executive session.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.